I am, of course, celebrating my 19th wedding anniversary with the great Jenny Fala. So happy anniversary to us. All right, yay! Okay. But today is not, according to the history books, about me and Jenny. It is about a different couple that's trying to make a go of it. We're talking about Putin and Ukraine, Putin and Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy at the White House today with European leaders, and we're trying to get to the bottom of, where do we go now? In the immortal words of Axl Rose, where we go for the next 3 hours as I attempt to speak English on the show is we're going to chat with Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, BD, back in the House. That's going to be amazing. And we are also going to get into it with a super special guest in the third hour that I'm so excited about. I'm looking it up to see who it is. Oh, Abby Hornacek's going to be here. We love Abby Hornacek. Actually, I will give you some applause. There you go. There you go. Champ had a busy morning. We were doing morning TV on America's Newsroom, getting all kinds of TV chicanery out of the way for this weekend's big episode of Fox News Saturday Night. But what I want to talk about is where we left off this weekend. It was with Trump meeting with Putin in Alaska, trying to bring a lasting peace to the region. There was such a monumental effort made in the press to take issue with what Trump was doing. How dare he smile at Vladimir Putin? They rolled out the red carpet. Hello. They're trying to end a war. You don't do that by kicking the guy in the nuts, refusing to shake his hand. The point is, it is a peace summit. Never mind that if we were really going to play this dopey, dumb game, do you know how many high-level Democrats have met, smiled, applauded, shaken Vladimir Putin's hand? Hillary Clinton once gave his ambassador a reset button to be like, hey, we're giving you a fresh start in the region. That's what she did. When she was Secretary of State under Barack Obama, she showed up with a reset, like an actual prop, like she was Carrot Top.
Some of these women, they're so stupid.
And we famously saw the hot mic moment where Obama leaned into the Russian ambassador and said, if you give me until after the election, I'll have a little more political flexibility. Like, we've seen actual weakness on the world stage. Trump meeting Putin, walking him down a red carpet as a delegation of B-2 bombers flies overhead was actually pretty badass stuff. So everybody in the media...
So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
To quote Judge Janine. But as we get underway, that's where I want to focus, because Marco Rubio made the rounds yesterday. And, this was one of the first criticisms he was hit with. Is, we're meeting with Putin. One of the claims was that he elevated Putin on the world stage. Hello, Vladimir Putin is one of the most famous people on this planet and has been for the better part of 30 years. I'm not telling you he's famous for good reasons, but I'm telling you everybody's heard of him. So this idea of a manufactured critique, again, these guys are trying to end a war. And there has been no criticism out of the media for the administration that started a war, did nothing to end a war, but continuously fund that war, even after Zelenskyy flew into America and snickered at our generosity and told us, shut up, we need more javelins, we need more planes. Do you remember the joint address to Congress where he got a standing ovation and then dressed us down for not giving him more?
We want more money.
That's pretty much been the Zelenskyy doctrine. He shows up to America, goes, give me more money. And we're like, wait, we just gave you, shut up, I want more money. And it's one of the reasons why Trump and Vance exposed him in that White House meeting earlier this spring when they thought he was popping off and showing them no respect behind closed doors, because he had clearly gotten used to behaving that way with the past administration. But did the media criticize Biden for letting the Ukrainian war even happen?
The answer would be no.
No. Did the media ever ask how we would end the war over the course of the last 3 years of the Biden administration?
The answer would be no.
The answer would be no. So Trump shows up and is actually pushing pretty aggressively to end the war. And the media is losing, like, how dare he meet with Putin? What are they doing talking without Zelenskyy? Like, come on. Talking without a president is not a big deal. The last administration spent 4 years making the big decisions without involving Joe Biden.
Tell them like it is.
Okay, straight up. Joe Biden wasn't involved in anything. Everybody knows that. Okay, but here was Marco Rubio making the rounds yesterday and beating back some of the stupidest criticisms I've ever heard. Clip 5.
Critics of President Trump will say the pomp and circumstance.
Can I stop 1 second, Josh? Can I just 1 second? By critics of President Trump, she means her.
Bingo.
Critics of President Trump. My network needs an angle to attack you on. I know a few million people have died. The president's the only guy out there trying to make a peace, looking to define what would constitute victory. But critics, meaning me and my line producer and field producer who sat down and pre-scripted this interview, critics have said, here it is, take it away, clip 5.
Warm handshake. That President Trump simply lost that Putin gained there just by being on the world stage and walking down a red carpet with the president. Your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, critics of President Trump are always going to find something to criticize. You don't even pay attention to it anymore. But I will tell you this, Putin is already on the world stage. He's already on the world stage. The guy's conducting a full-scale war in Ukraine. He's already on the world stage. He has the world's largest tactical nuclear arsenal in the world and the second largest strategic nuclear arsenal in the world. He's already on the world stage.
Think about that. He has the second biggest nuclear arsenal on the planet.
This could be a problem.
Not only is it a problem, but everybody knows it's a problem. So this idea that that's the angle they came at. Well, now you've just, by getting to shake hands with President Trump, you've elevated him on the world stage. You don't understand, Marco Rubio.
Wrong.
It's so dumb. So that's what the critic should be focused on? The critic, maybe, I don't know, maybe the critic should have been focused on the Biden administration, getting us into this mess by saying, well, you know, if just a minor incursion into Ukraine, that's one thing. But he better not launch a full-scale invasion. Joe Biden actually said that before Putin invaded Ukraine. And then the White House had to walk it back and go, we didn't mean it. You can't do the minor invasion either. Okay, because Biden was a disaster, and we know that. But the point is, there was no defined strategy. And no one in the media was, as Martha's calling it, a critic. No one was saying, hey, critics would like to know what's the point of sending $200-300 billion to Ukraine. Critics would like to know, when is this going to end? Critics would like to know, how would we identify victory for our people? Okay, and that's the big difference here. Trump showed up on Friday with the goal of a lasting peace. We now know, according to our president, what a victorious end to this would look like. It's not about, you know, Putin's completely off the map. That's not a reality. The guy has nukes. Okay, it's not Zelenskyy gets everything that he wants. It's not Putin gets everything he wants. They always say when it comes to these types of deals, people are going to have to make compromises. And this is what they're going for, okay? Here is a little bit more of Rubio talking about that and the fact that, yes, in order to get a lasting peace, you have to deal with Putin. You can't make a peace deal without him. They've met with Zelenskyy about 15 times. Here it is, clip 6.
When I hear people say that, oh, it elevates them. Well, all we do is talk about Putin all the time. All the media's done is talk about Putin all the time for the last 4 or 5 years. That doesn't mean he's right about the war. That doesn't mean he's justified about the war. Put all that aside. It means you're not going to have a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. You're not going to end a war between Russia and Ukraine without dealing with Putin. That's just common sense. I shouldn't even have to say it. So people can say whatever they want. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to get the Russian side to agree to things that they don't want to agree to if we're going to have peace. If not, there'll just be a war. They'll keep killing each other. And life will go on in America and in the rest of the world, but not for Ukraine.
And that's the point. This is not a war that is nearly the problem for America that it is for Europe. Okay, it's not. And that's why so many Americans have grown tired of funding this war. We don't have a defined outcome, number one. Number two, the bigger issue that we're dealing with here is that everybody in America feels like we have been, I don't want to say underfunded, but undercared about by the last administration. 21 million people crossed our border. How many times have you read a tweet that says we've spent $300 billion protecting Ukraine's borders, but we didn't spend any money protecting our border? I mean, that was a reality of the last 4 years of, you know, America.
Welcome to the Biden administration, home to the new slogan, America Last.
That was every day. Everybody felt that way every day. Now you've got a president in there who has secured the border. He passed the big, beautiful bill. They're doubling down on their support for law enforcement. They're extending tax cuts. They've lowered the cost of fuel. Okay, this is a president that's pushing America first policies. And in truth, ending the war in Ukraine is not America first so much as it is humanity first. Trump has ended 6 conflicts so far. This, of course, would be the biggest one. And make no mistake about it. There is, probably a large percentage of the media, I'm going to play their clips in this hour, that are rooting like hell against this guy. Because it would be a physical impossibility not to give him the Nobel Peace Prize if he ends this war. And then how do you sit down in the media when your entire business model is predicated on calling the guy Hitler after Hitler has won a Nobel Peace Prize? Like, they're losing their minds over this. But again, what's hanging in the balance is millions of lives. So if you're out there rooting against a peace prize because it would empower your political enemy, okay, you're more broken than anybody in the Trump administration you happen to be mad at, because you've now been reduced to that thing where the politics are more important than the people. That's something we try to be mindful of on this show every day when we do it, is we're just trying to give you, real life. How does this affect all of us? And the truth is, if this war ends and we have disengaged from a conflict with a nuclear superpower, it makes all of us a lot safer. And that's what's ultimately in it for Trump. Can they fight right now to the kind of standstill they've been fighting to for the last 3 years for another decade? Yeah, they did that in Afghanistan. We could do that. They're buying the weapons off us now, so it's not even like America's making the money so much as America's, paying the money. American manufacturing is making the money, and the Europeans are doing the bulk of the funding at this point. Okay, that's the reality of where we find ourselves. But Trump does actually prioritize things that aren't even necessarily popular with his base. Okay, nobody on the right, I don't want to say nobody, but I'd say a vast majority just they don't care about Ukraine. They would have just cut off funding to Ukraine a year and a half ago, and Putin could have, made his way in a little bit further. And yes, the European allies could have maybe put some boots on the ground and backed them up. But the point is, Trump is trying to govern for a long-term prosperity. It's not about our short-term gain as Americans so much as there's a bigger goal in play. And as I'm going to show you over the course of the show today, there's a lot of people out there that are rooting against this guy because they don't really care about peace, okay, if it harms their political narrative. And that would be the question I would ask of you. If you're listening to the show for the first time and you're like, who is this dopey guy? How the hell did he get a national radio show? Don't feel bad. I ask myself the same question every day. But if you're sitting here listening to the show, ask yourself, I'm not going to know, you and I aren't going to speak on this, but are you one of those broken people that is watching Trump shake Putin's hand and looking for the negative in this? Okay, shaking his hand doesn't mean he's a good guy, as Marco Rubio said. Doesn't mean he was right to invade Ukraine. Doesn't mean all of his political opponents don't mysteriously fall out windows for some reason. They must be having a real issue. This is a good opportunity for Renewal by Anderson to get on the line with the Kremlin and go, I don't know what's up with these replacement windows, but nobody falls out of Renewal by Anderson. You guys could be making money. This could be a Shark Tank idea. But the point is, you don't have to think Putin is good to know that rooting against a peace deal is really, really bad.
Today, Point Pleasant is home to the one and only Mothman Festival, attracting thousands from across the world each year. This year, I've come to take part in the festivities and launch my own investigation. Okay, what was that? Who or what is Mothman? Is Mothman real or just an urban legend? And could Mothman still be out there?
Oh, hot damn. It is Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon. Joining me now, the woman who may well have cracked the case. On Mothman, I am talking about Fox Nation multimedia superstar. Abby Hornacek is in the crowd. The crowd goes wild. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jimmy.
The tagline, Mothman, the man, the moth, the legend, which I love. But they took the host of Parked, Abby Hornacek, and you went from covering parks to the Mothman convention?
That's right. It was quite the adventure. So even though we have a lot of adventures on Parks, this one is definitely something different. Yeah, I did hear that you're celebrating your 19th wedding anniversary by watching this special on Fox
Well, that was
Nation.
Jenny's request.
Yeah.
I was like, we could do dinner or
Jenny's a real one.
flowers or something like that. And she's like, we got to get to the bottom of this moth thing. And it's been on her mind for weeks now. But it's first of all, congrats. Another great project by Abby Hornacek. But when you go to the Mothman convention,
Yes.
I don't know if you're allowed to divulge this, but could you give me a percentage on the on believers, cosplayers, and just like fun-loving, good-time people?
I think it's a combination of everything.
Of course it
It's the only Mothman festival in the world. By the way.
Which is shocking.
It is shocking. How do more people not celebrate the Mothman? For people who don't know what Mothman is, it's basically an urban legend. Back in the 1960s, there was this couple driving down the road, and they saw this creature, 6 to 7 feet, big, tall, I guess, flying after their car. And then it had these glowing red eyes, and then it just took off into the sky.
Yeah.
A local journalist wrote about it, and the legend of Mothman was born. Other people claimed to have sightings, things like that. So folks from all over, thousands of people, come to this Mothman festival. They make their own costumes. I talked to one gentleman who took 6 months to make his costume. And I was like, why Mothman? What draws you to it? And he goes, well, it's just a sign that you can be whoever you want to be. Like, it's, you can embrace your inner weirdo, or you can, his words, not mine.
Yeah, fair.
And just have a lot of fun. So I do think it's a combo of everything.
I love that. But you're saying it's not just the couple that spotted the moth that are on LSD. You're saying other people take it too.
First question I asked was, were you sober? And everyone says yes.
Really?
They reported it to the police. I don't think if you were tripping on LSD, you'd call up the police. Maybe you would. I don't know. I've never
depends on the
tripped
LSD. Maybe you're like, I don't know, this seems like a good time. I don't know. But it's streaming right now on Fox Nation, Mothman, the Man, the Moth, the Legend. That's really cool stuff to me. And I love that. There were so many of these things. Like the Bigfoot industry, right? It's like a Bigfoot convention coming up.
Totally.
But I love that that's a thing. I think we need to have that.
And speaking of Bigfoot, at the Mothman Festival, there were people in Bigfoot costumes. So I think it's a way for people. There were aliens there.
The Loch Ness Monster
Men
swimming.
in black.
I love that.
Didn't see any Jimmy Fallahs, but.
Hey, girl. Let's talk about this, Abby Hornacek. Loch Ness Monster, yay or nay?
I don't know. I haven't been in enough lakes.
But do you want to kind of believe it's
I
out
kind of
there?
want to believe it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aliens 100%.
Uh-huh.
That's up there.
That's a thing. Because
Yeah.
they've been trying to beat around the bush on that at the government level. Even like our Tulsi Gabbard was like, in my personal capacity, I have a lot of beliefs, but I got to be careful with what I say. Our mutual friend, Sean Duffy, who may have had an office a few doors down from yours here at Fox News at one point. He was on the show last week as the acting head of NASA. And I go, yo, Duffy, what's up with Tulsi Gabbard talking about the aliens? Suddenly the phone connection got really bad. So I think Duffy and that fine-ass hair of his, he knows what's up.
The men in black were coming after your connection.
I believe so. And it's like, I want to believe things are out there. When it comes to aliens, here's my issue, okay? It's hard for me to fathom they can fly here from like 10 galaxies over, but they don't know how to land. Because we keep hearing that they
don't
crash.
want to land?
Or what if they do land? You know what Emily Campagno said, our mutual friend? She said, what if they have landed and they just blend in?
100%. I think there are a lot of, do we really think we're the only ones in the whole universe?
Listen, I don't think we're the only ones. I just think the other beings have spent enough time on social media to not want to be here.
Yeah, they don't, this is why they crashed.
5 minutes
they were
on
texting
Twitter.
and driving.
Yeah, they're like, maybe not. I don't know. Abby Hornacek's in studio. We're excited about it. This on Mothman. Before you took on this project, were the Hornaceks, people given to Mothman discussions, or did this become a recent passion play?
Jimmy, I got to be honest with you. I had not heard of Mothman before this project.
And then you go down a hole, right?
And there was a movie with Richard Gere, The Mothman Prophecies, that came out. So I think it spread the word about Mothman. But just going there, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is a very interesting town, very beautiful, really nice people. And they've really embraced it. They've got a museum. They had the festival, of course. And you were talking about, serious things earlier, war. This actually, in 1942, there was the West Virginia Ordnance Works, which is where they would make explosives for the war effort. And that is where the sighting of Mothman first was. So you have to wonder, you hear about aliens kind of circling around military, or I guess I should say UFOs circling around these government places. Maybe Mothman's the same.
Whoa. Maybe just so what that would mean.
Yeah.
Is Mothman is usually that just means it's like an advanced military capability. Because the issue is, whenever they bring out like a new plane, there's suddenly a lot of UFO sightings near the military bases. Like when the stealth bomber happened, everybody out there in like Nevada and California called in a UFO. And they were like, what's up with this thing? I've never seen anything like it. It's like shaped like a triangle and it's flying around all crazy. And so if anything, that leads me to believe Mothman might have been Drone Man.
It could have been Drone Man with those glowing red eyes. Those are both record buttons.
Maybe.
The
we
red
might
light
have just
is
cracked
on.
the case. Cancel next year's convention. Way to go, Abby.
I don't want to say I'm an elite investigative reporter, but here we are.
Decimated the whole tourism economy of a West Virginia town. I kid. Hold on, because I did this. I was going to be doing this documentary about the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah.
And in the very minimal research that I was doing on this, it really made me want to believe, because the people that are usually behind something like this are adorable. They're not harmful.
No, they're adorable.
Yeah.
We had this woman who was talking about, so she had been one of the eyewitnesses of Mothman. She also said she likes to look for Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about how, she's a little bit psychic, all these things. I'm interviewing her and the lights just go off, which, can happen, I guess, if the battery dies. And she looked me dead in the eye and she goes, "That was me. I'm so sorry." And I was like, what do you mean it was you? And she goes, weird things happen around me. And then our photographer looks at the camera light and he goes, "Yeah, it's fully charged. There's no reason it should have gone out."
What?
And I was like, where am I?
You might have met Moth Woman.
Yeah, she was.
What is even happening? This is crazy. Abby Hornacek, been visited from beings.
Do you think Mothman and Loch Ness Monster are friends?
That's the thing. You'd feel like these are such lonely gigs there'd have to be a support group.
One dominates the water, one dominates the sky. You got to have the best of both worlds.
You got Bigfoot on land.
Yeah, exactly.
That would make sense.
Trifecta.
I mean, in the probability of things that could be, you dig?
Yeah.
I mean, Bigfoot would technically probably be the most probable.
Yeah, it could be a creature that...
He could blend into the woods. I mean, there's enough woods in the world. Like, there is a finite amount of water in the Loch Ness,
True.
That some of those sonars would
But
get
what about
to
the sky? There's a lot of sky.
Amen. But I feel like there'd be more than one Mothman sighting.
Well, there was back in the day.
But
I think he just went to retire.
Oh, I see.
He's living on a beach somewhere.
So you're saying Mothman, Elvis, Tupac, and Biggie are hanging out. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
Guys, this is why you need Fox Nation.
This is all on the record.
This is all on the record reporting. We're throwing our name behind. I mean, if she does not get a Pulitzer for this, I don't know why they're even giving one out at this point.
Thank you, Jimmy. I was thinking the same thing.
That is crazy. We're talking to Abby Hornacek, the Mothman, the man, the moth, the legend, as we get ready for season 9 of Parked. Is that true?
That is true.
What?
You can go binge all the other episodes on Fox Nation. But Jimmy, I just got back from North Dakota 2 days ago. And it was for America 250 because Theodore Roosevelt National Park, I should say. I got in this habit of calling him Teddy, like we're besties. But yeah, Theodore Roosevelt National Park is in North Dakota. And obviously, he is such a conservationist, really had a hand in the national parks. But we went on horseback, and I had an American flag. I felt so American. It was the best thing ever. I am bleeding red, white, and blue right now because I was just galloping up this hill with an American flag. There are cows moving in the background, the sun setting. It was...
This is real, guys.
Yes.
She just personally tried deporting a migrant on the way here. We had to break it up. We're like, no, Abby, he's a legal citizen.
No,
you can't do that.
was Mothman, actually.
Yeah. She's blaming it on Mothman. But you got it. I get it, though, when you're around that sort of thing. And I hope next year, because I know we're really going to lean into the 250 party.
Yep.
I hope people get it, because we were raised, you and I anyway, with a lot of perspective on how lucky we were to be in this country. Our parents did us that favor. And there's a lot of people who aren't in on the joke that hopefully will be.
Yeah, we have so many things that we can do that other people can't.
Anything.
And we're blessed.
Do you think anybody on the other side of the world is doing a Mothman doc right now?
Absolutely not.
No chance.
No.
That's not going on.
They're watching Fox Nation and they're so jealous.
They're not doing Parked. They're doing Bombed. It's a totally different set. We're doing all right in this country is the point, folks. And that's why you got to get over to Fox Nation. It is Mothman, the man, the moth, the legend. It is Abby Hornacek, best of the best. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Jibbo.
President Trump announcing at the end of his joint press conference with Volodymyr Zelenskyy that there would, in fact, be a follow-up phone call tonight with Vladimir Putin. They are working at an accelerated pace. Why? Because Trump knows Putin wants to stall this thing into oblivion and hopefully make like a 2-year ceasefire deal that he can immediately renege on, assuming a Democrat wins in 2028. But what Trump is doing is putting the screws to them and trying to hammer something out this week. Because if, in fact, they don't get a deal this week and he doesn't believe Putin is sincere in his interests, he is going to slap them with crippling, ruby-crushing sanctions.
So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here.
I don't know that it's come to that yet, but 888-788-9910 if you want to be a part of this hour. And as we get underway, I have to tell you the one other story we are monitoring in real time right now, okay, is this redistricting effort ended today. You know those Texas Democrats that were on a world tour telling you they were saving democracy and...
You are so full of shit.
But they were protesting gerrymandering by flying to Illinois, which is the single most gerrymandered state in America. If you, in fact, remember, they got an F on their election map because they have the most ridiculous election districts out there. They, of course, at Texas, were trying to deny them their own redistricting effort to make the Republican support more commensurate with the actual districting in Texas. Do you know there are 5 states in this country that have 0 conservative representation in Congress? 0, because of the way the Democrats have drawn up the maps. So when the Democrats go on these world tours to be like, the Republicans are the threat to democracy.
Not even close.
It really is the Democrats. But one quick thing I wanted to play you, since we're on the topic of war, is this was such a turkey in terms of galvanizing public support for the Democrats or maybe finding a lane to attack Donald Trump on. The Democrats, since Trump has gotten into office, have fought him on eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse in government. Do you remember they were paying Tesla's people to go out there and burn Tesla dealerships and say they were mad at Doge? That was the first fight. No, we can't cut the wasteful spending in Washington. Then the second fight was, oh, those billions of dollars we're sending overseas, we need that money. They fought against our interest and lost that too. Then they were like, what do you mean you're deporting violent migrant criminals? Let's go down to El Salvador and have margaritas with them. And they did that. That was their third losing effort. They've had appellate court judges fight Trump at every turn. Last week, they went to war against Trump for trying to bring peace to the streets of Washington, D.C. They're like, you can't bring in the National Guard to get D.C. under control. Never mind that if D.C. was a state, it would have the highest murder rate in America. Think about that, guys. D.C. has more murders than any other state in America, and their population is than half the size. So it's insanity that they would tell you there was no problem. But again, it's not because they didn't think there was a problem. It's because they thought they could piss people off at Trump for sending the feds into D.C. Ergo, this would be a winning lane.
Wrong.
That didn't work. So while that was playing out, they went on a redistricting tour, and they sent a bunch of Texas Democrats on a private jet tour that was funded by Beto O'Rourke's super PAC. You know Beto O'Rourke, who wants you to believe he's the great orator of our times.
He is so full of shit, this guy.
Beto O'Rourke, I don't know how I can explain it to you, but he's like a Tim Waltz origin story. Just a beta male with way too much arm waving, moves around like an inflatable guy in front of a car wash trying to get your attention as you drive by. But anyway, they thought this redistricting fight might be a thing. And when it started to go south, what did they do? They took up arms against Trump's peace meeting with Putin. What do you mean you're meeting with Vladimir Putin? We can't be out there talking to Putin. You're elevating him on the world stage. Guys, Vladimir Putin has been on the world stage for 40 years. And there's no way to end a war without meeting with both of the parties, both of the respective parties. Here's Marco Rubio pushing back against Martha Raddatz, who might be the dumbest woman in media. I say that with all due respect to Jim Acosta. But here is Marco Rubio pushing back against Martha Raddatz about elevating Putin. Clip 5.
Critics of President Trump will say the pomp and circumstance, the red carpet, the warm handshake, that President Trump simply lost that Putin gained there just by being on the world stage and walking down a red carpet with the president. Your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, critics of President Trump are always going to find something to criticize. You don't even pay attention to it anymore. But I will tell you this. Putin is already on the world stage. He's already on the world stage. The guy's conducting a full-scale war in Ukraine. He's already on the world stage. He has the world's largest tactical nuclear arsenal in the world and the second largest strategic nuclear arsenal in the world. He's already on the world stage.
Oh, God. But can you imagine? Because when she says critics, every time somebody in the media goes, critics are saying, what they mean is they are saying. Critics. You're the critic. This is the same news network that said to J.D. Vance when he said, migrant street gangs are taking over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. They said, well, it's only a handful of buildings. And J.D. Vance goes, do you even hear yourself? It's only a handful of buildings that the United States has lost control of to migrant criminals? In what world would that be acceptable? And the Democrats and their allies in the media, this is real. Somebody broke the compass, and they're very bad at picking battles because every single side they take is a minority side. And I mean an overwhelming minority side. They came out against biological men competing against biological women. That's an 80-20 issue. Guys, they came out against Sydney Sweeney's boobs.
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
And then they attacked her dog a week later. The only thing more popular on the internet than boobs is dogs, okay? And they went after boobs with dogs. Crazy. Weapons grade stupid. But as we get underway in this hour, one Democrat characterized the Republican redistricting effort as the equivalent of using mustard gas on democracy like Hitler did. This is something the Democrats said. Okay, this is David Brooks, who is a former New York Timeser. He was on The Week on ABC, where all the magic seems to be happening these days. Here it is, clip 22.
Let's do a little ethical experiment here. You're in World War I. The Germans use mustard gas on civilians, and it helps them. Do you then decide, okay, we're going to use mustard gas on civilians? What Trump ordered Abbott to do in Texas is mustard gas on our democracy.
All right.
Some people would feel, okay, that was terrible. We have to fight back. It's horrible. It's horrible, but we're going to fight back. It's just that's war. Gavin Newsom is leaping into this with both legs. And to me, there's a moral stain that will accompany anybody who does this, because basically they are destroying our democracy. You don't let politicians pick voters. You let voters pick politicians. And the people who oppose gerrymandering, they're the ones defending democracy.
Okay. But anyway, he's saying, the actual people are the ones that are defending democracy.
Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
I mean, come on, man. But what he is saying is the Democrats shouldn't engage in further gerrymandering to combat this effort by the Republican Party. The only problem is the Democrats are leaps and bounds ahead of the Republicans when it comes to gerrymandering. So there should be some callback on that just the same. But again, it's this inability in members of the media to distinguish between actual war and an actual Holocaust and something like redistricting that intellectually disqualifies them. If you're comparing anything to the Germans, if you're comparing anything to the Hitler that isn't a war or a Holocaust, you are losing the argument.
He's a lousy dad, but he's right.
And they have nowhere to go here because people don't care. With the Democrats, if you wanted to help your party right now, all they have to do, and I've said this on a lot of big media, like forget this show, nobody cares, okay? It's just little old me, and yeah, we're on a couple hundred stations, but it's, at the end of the day, I get on the air, and it's not a very serious show, okay? But I've said this on serious shows, America's Newsroom, the Sean Hannity Show, I've said it on the big platforms. Hey, man, I said if the Democrats want to help or save their party, all they have to do is pretend to care about America. And they can't. They can't do it in any way, shape, or form that is not transparently their own self-interest ahead of yours. Okay, and that's everything they're doing. Like this redistricting thing, nobody cares because they've gerrymandered every single state they're in charge of. So when they go out and go on this publicity tour pretending this is some type of modern day civil rights movement, every single person is looking at them going like, wait, what? when they opposed the deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C., knowing they have security details. The rest of D.C. was like, wait, why? What do you mean? Of course we want to clean up the streets. Same thing with securing the southern border. Same thing with cutting taxes on tips. Every one of these things the Republicans have done that is popular, the Democrats have opposed. And it's not Trump playing 3D chess where he's just baiting the Democrats into opposing popular things. It's that they are completely and spectacularly out of touch with the priorities of the working men and women in this country because they don't talk to them. The Democrats are now the party of elite billionaire mega donors. If they were talking to the working class voter, Joe Biden could not have been the Democrat nominee for any stretch of the 2024 election. Because going into the 2024 election, I'm not talking after he was forced off the ticket because of the disastrous debate. I'm talking about the 2 years leading up to the race when an NBC poll showed that 83% of Americans were concerned about Biden's cognitive state. 83% of Americans said Biden was out to lunch. There were 17% that were okay with it.
Biden's lost his marbles.
83% of the people felt that way. But the Democrats weren't listening to them. They were saying, you're stupid. You don't know what's good for you. Shut up. He's the guy. Joe Biden's got this.
If you like Biden so much, name 3 of his complete sentences.
But they couldn't. They couldn't name those sentences. Okay, so what happened is they kept him on the ticket till it flamed out spectacularly, at which point they had to replace him. But did they have a primary where the voters had any say? No, the donors picked Kamala, and they were like, it's hers. There was no primary. There was no accelerated convention where she competed against other, would-be candidates. They just gave it to her without letting the working man and woman in this country have any say. And they're so spectacularly out of touch with regular people that this week on my Saturday night TV show, we did a segment where we were explaining to white liberals what black people do. And that might sound crazy to you. But there's a Bravo actress, Jennifer Welch, who got no brushback whatsoever because she went on a tantrum last week and said if you're a white person who voted for Trump, you should be banned from Mexican restaurants and Chinese restaurants because you hate minorities. Never mind that minorities voted for Trump in record numbers. Never mind that if you're a minority business owner, the last thing on earth you want to do is tell half of the country not to come to your business. But the bigger takeaway than all of that is that with a straight face, Jennifer Welch said white Trump supporters should just bring their fat asses to Cracker Barrel. And she wanted you to believe that only white people go to Cracker Barrel. I mean, dude, that is, yeah, exactly. Why don't we just say that? Cracker Barrel is something that every single ethnicity in America goes to. As Charles McBee said on our show, Cracker Barrel, he's from Ohio. Charles McBee's a black comedian and pretty big Instagram influencer. He said Cracker Barrel is the state flag of his hometown. He goes, we love Cracker Barrel. He said there are mad black people in Cracker Barrel was the direct quote. Okay, but the biggest problem the Democrats have right now, you know how I say politics is not about read the room, it's about lead the room? But at the very least, you have to be in the room. And the Democrats don't even know what zip code the room is in because they're too busy hanging out with their billionaire mega donors. And that's why they're losing.